Sometimes playing at a major college power can help a player's draft stock because it gets them more exposure. It puts them in big situations. They get more chances to shine when the lights are the brightest and more eyeballs are on them. However, other times, coming from a big-time program, a majorly successful program can be a bit of a hindrance to draft stock because sometimes you can be viewed as a bit of a product of the system, and with all of that exposure, you can get more questions and concerns and more chances to knock that individual prospect's game. And one guy I think that fits into this category, and it'll be really interesting to see what NFL scouting departments think of him, is Derrick Henry. This is a big, bad dude. 6'2" to 6'3", 240 pounds easy. The junior out of Alabama. Had to wait his time the first couple of years playing behind T.J. Yeldon. But man, when he got the opportunity to be that full-time bell cow in 2015, he made it matter. He ended up winning the Heisman Trophy. He was that factor back for the Crimson Tide. He was the offensive force that helped lead the Crimson Tide to another national championship season. A guy that was really that bell cow back, that traditional kind of power, no nonsense, no BS type of dude. And the type of back that a Nick Saban absolutely loves, as you've seen through his history of the program of the years with guys like Mark Ingram and Trent Richardson and Eddie Lacy in terms of how they played at the college level. He likes those big physical backs. And Derrick Henry was most certainly one of those big physical backs. And you would say arguably the biggest, most physical back that he's had. And there's plenty to like about him on film. First, you look at him. He's a big freaking dude. He plays very, very big. He's a strong-ass dude. He's really, really tough to tackle with arm tackles. This is a guy that can run between the tackles, and he can break through a lot of tackles. He's the type of running back that you look at and you say, okay, things get stuffed at the line of scrimmage. He can still make that a 2 or 3 yard run. He could take a 2 or 3 yard run and make it into a 4, 5, 6 yard run. He could take a 5 yard run and potentially make it an 8, 9, 10 yard run. And that's an important skill to have. You know, it's what happens once you get hit. You know, you look at him in terms of his yards after initial contact, and you would have to think that Derrick Henry is going to be somebody that will be able to get a lot of that and be among the league leaders at the NFL level in yards after initial contact. This is a guy that's not going to be taken down by one dude traditionally. This is not a guy that's going to be taken down by a simple arm tackle. You know, what else I like about him as a runner is that he shows a lot of patience. He shows the willingness to wait. He's got good vision to see where he needs to go at times. But I really like his willingness to trust the people in front of him blocking for him, his willingness to wait for the right situation instead of just immediately bounding right through. He doesn't dance around, but he shows that good patience to be able to wait for his opportunity. And then once he does run with the football, he really finishes his runs well. He's got good one-cut ability to be able to at least initially change the momentum of the defense and go back up the opposite way. But when he runs, man, and he runs forward and he runs downhill, he is a force. And I love how he consistently finishes his runs. He runs like a big man should. He doesn't run like somebody that's trying to get a bunch of people to make a miss. He's not trying to do a bunch of spin moves or a bunch of other athletic crap. He's just running straight down your throat and dares you to stop him. But one thing that might surprise you a little bit about Derrick Henry, and I know it did me as I was going through and rewatching this film and studying him again as a prospect, is his second level speed. Now, he's a big dude, so it's going to take him a little bit to get up to speed. And that's always going to be a concern. But man, if he gets into that second level, you'd be surprised how fast this dude is. He has some home run hitting ability. He is not just a simply plodding change of pace between the tackles power running back. He can do more than that. He is a threat if he gets to the second level to take that bitch to the house. And you'd be surprised when you watch him just how often you see those flashes and see that ability. And that's really impressive out of a dude that's all 6'3", damn near 250 pounds if we're being so honest. But when you talk about a running back that big, especially the way the NFL is today, I have some serious concerns about how he will translate to the NFL level. As a runner, he's not a very elusive guy. You know, he's not going to go side to side and make a bunch of people miss, which he doesn't necessarily have to. But when you take that and combine it with his upright running style, to me, he makes himself even bigger than he needs to be when he's running the football, meaning even if people get arms on him and runs through one, it's a lot easier to tackle him if you get one or two on him than it should be. He's not going to make you miss. He's always got to run through tackles, and that could potentially lead to some injury concerns down the road because he's going to take a lot of pounding and a lot of hits at the NFL level. In terms of the other skills outside of just being a between the tackles runner, I think his route running could use some work. Alabama, would sometimes utilize him out of the slot, but even then he was running a lot of rudimentary routes. When he was used as a pass catcher out of the backfield, it was a lot of screens and a lot of simple stuff. He's going to need to get better at his route running if he wants to be a three-down back, but he's especially going to need to get better at his blocking and his pass protection and his blitz pickup. For a guy that's 240-plus pounds and as big as he is, he shouldn't get blown up by opposing blitzers as much as he does. He's not very good at holding at the point of attack as a blocker. I also don't think he's very good at times of recognizing what position he needs to be in to pick up that blitzer. There are plenty of times where athletic blitzers, especially safeties and corners, went right around him without him even putting a hand on him. It's a serious concern for me for him at the NFL level because a lot of NFL teams are going to value pass protecting skills out of their running backs in order to keep them on the field on third down situations. And based off of what Derrick Henry demonstrated to me at Alabama at this point in time, I don't think he's ready to be a three-down running back right away. He could grow into that in time, and he could get better in that, and I anticipate he would. But his pass blocking is a concern and a big concern to me. And then I look at the fact that physically he's kind of top-heavy. For a guy that's 240-plus pounds, sometimes it's about how you carry your weight. He's kind of got skinny legs. I mean, I'm not saying he has, twigs for legs, but it seems like most of his weight is from his waist and up. And that, again, when I talk about that upright running style and I talk about that lack of open field elusiveness, really makes me wonder if he's going to be susceptible to lower body injuries as he gets into the NFL level and he takes that week in, week out pounding. And then you also got to look at the system that he plays at. And that matters. You've got to look at the track record of those Alabama running backs in recent years under Nick Saban that went on to the NFL level. It's similar to USC. And talk about it for years and talk about how USC wide receivers seem to ultimately disappoint. But I tried to look past that with Robert Woods and Marquise Lee, and I shouldn't have. And then a lot of people knocked me for not looking past it when it came to Nelson Aguilar, and I'm glad I didn't look past it because there are significant questions there. And there are very big similarities between Derrick Henry and several other former Crimson Tide running backs at the college level. Mark Ingram to a lesser degree, but more so especially Trent Richardson and Eddie Lacy. These were guys that a lot of people were big on at one point in time too. And guys that run with a similar style in a somewhat similar way. Bigger type dudes with a lot of bulk on them, downhill runners, not a lot of open field elusiveness. And you look at them and it's definitely been a mixed bag in terms of production and results at the NFL level. So is Derrick Henry going to be the next in that line? Is he really that much different or that much better where he's not going to be just a product of the college system and he's going to be somebody that can translate his college success to the NFL level? I don't know yet. In terms of an NFL comparison, in terms of players that I've seen over the years, to me the best comparison I have for him is Brandon Jacobs, who at one point in time was at Auburn along with Ronnie Brown and Cadillac Williams. Brandon Jacobs was actually the best combination size-speed athlete out of those three. But he went to Southern Illinois, and then he got drafted in the fourth round. But he was a productive NFL player. He was a guy that kind of thundered to a thunder and lightning backfield for the Giants along with Ahmad Bradshaw. I look at him in terms of an NFL running back from the past. That's the one he most reminds me of. A lot of people will say something like Eddie George, but Derrick Henry's faster than Eddie George, but I don't think he's as nimble and agile in the open field and as able to make people miss as Eddie George was coming out of Ohio State. To me, when I look at a modern NFL comparison for him, the closest I can come up with is Jonathan Stewart. Now, granted, he's a lot taller than Jonathan Stewart. Jonathan Stewart's all of 5'10", but he's about 235, 240 pounds. But I look at the way they play, and there are a lot of similarities. They're both physical, between the tackles runners that are tough to tackle with just one guy. They are guys that both have speed that will surprise you. They have some home run hitting ability that you wouldn't anticipate from guys that are that big. These are guys that if you get into the second level, they can bust some big ones and it will catch you off guard. as similar to Jonathan Stewart, has been a major problem for him throughout the years at the NFL level. He's had problems with injuries, especially in the lower body, I think in part because of his running style and his lack of open field elusiveness, even though I think he's a little more elusive in the open field, a little more agile in the open field than Derrick Henry. It means that I have those same type of concerns for Derrick Henry. And just like Jonathan Stewart, who I think finally got to the point where he could be an every down back, Derrick Henry needs some work. He needs some work as a pass catcher, in particular in his route running, but especially in his ability to pass protect and pick up the blitz. He needs to do more and work more to become a complete back. Because in terms of overall right now, when I look at him as a prospect, I see an NFL-ready power back. And that's going to be appealing to some teams. He's a guy that, if you're asking him just run the football, he's going to be able to do it for you and do it well probably immediately for you. He's going to be a high-impact, immediately type of player. Whether that be you take him in the late portion of round 1 or you take him somewhere in round 2, he's going to make an impact for you more likely than not. But he's primarily going to be a 2-down back right now. And I look at that and I say, is that the type of guy that you want to spend a first-round pick on, knowing that at the moment he's not going to give you a lot in long passing situations. He's not going to give you a lot on third down. He's going to make you kind of one-dimensional on offense. Is that the guy that you really spend a first-round pick on him? I mean, I think it's going to be interesting because he could develop into a 3-down back. I just don't think he's one right now at the NFL level. I thought he was barely one, frankly, at the college level. I think he can, but it will take time, and a team will have to work with him. Will it happen during his rookie year 2, year 3, year 4? I'm not sure yet. So I think in part there's going to be a wide range of opinions on his draft stock because, yes, he ran a lot out of the shotgun at Alabama, but ultimately when they would run spread, they run it different. There's more of a power element to him, and he's going to fit best in a power running scheme where he maybe is running behind a lead blocker or he's running in a single back offense where he's running a lot between the tackles. Maybe he works well in his own blocking scheme, so I will put more teams in the mix for him. But if you're running a lot of spread and you're running a wide open kind of fast-paced offense, Derrick Henry is probably not the best fit for you. So you're probably going to see some teams that will grade him out as a late first-round pick. You'll see other teams that will grade him out as maybe a early to mid-second-round pick. And other teams may grade him out as a late second-round pick. Some may even grade him out as a third-round pick or even a day 3 talent because, in part, they're going to be worried again about the history of recent Alabama running backs and how they haven't transitioned from the college level to the NFL level all that well, and they're just going to view Derrick Henry as another guy from that program. And don't think that doesn't matter. Don't think that doesn't make a difference because it does. So you're going to see teams all over the place in this guy. It'll be really interesting to see where he ends up drafted. For my money, I think he's the number 3 running back in the 2016 NFL Draft. I think Ezekiel Elliott is clearly a step above him, if not more. And I think there's another running back in this class that I'll talk about later that's a little bit better than him in terms of his fit in the modern NFL and the skill set that he brings to the table. But I still think Derrick Henry is a really good football player. I think he's going to be a guy that comes in, like I said, and make an immediate impact as a downhill between the tackles runner for a team. I look at him personally as maybe a mid to late second-round pick, but probably when my big board is all put together and everything factors out, he'll probably be sitting there somewhere in the mid-second-round range. But would I knock a team for taking him early in round 2 like Cleveland, like Dallas? Most certainly not, because those would be teams that Cleveland might want to utilize him in a combination with Duke Johnson out of the backfield, or a Dallas in the type of system that they run. He might be a tremendous fit for the power running that they're going to do. Derrick Henry, again, I think it'd be a bit of a crime if he got drafted in round 3, because I think there would be a bit of an overreaction because there is that instant impact ability right away. And this Derrick Henry could be one of those examples of focusing too much on the negatives or the obvious shortcomings and missing the boat on all the things that he does well. And just because he came from the same program as a Trent Richardson or an Eddie Lacy doesn't automatically mean that he's a Trent Richardson or an Eddie Lacy type of guy. So for me, if any team takes him in the second round and they run the right type of system, I'm not going to knock him. In fact, I'll probably praise the pick because I'll sit there and say, hey, this is a solid pick, unlikely to be a bust, and probably will make an immediate impact. Just the problem is, though, with his lack of 3-down ability as I perceive it at this time, I'm just not eager to spend a first-round pick on him if I'm an NFL front office, and that's part of the reason, in large part, why I don't view him as a first-round talent in this upcoming draft.